Welcome, dear listener. It is an honor to share this journey with you today, here on Let's Get Motivated, as we dive into an extraordinary tale of healing, wonder, transformation, and the mysteries of the soul. The story begins with a woman named Catherine, a kind and intelligent person weighed by fears she could not explain. She lived in a world of invisible chains, bound by anxieties, by recurring nightmares, by phobias that refused to release her no matter how many sessions, no matter how many explanations. She sought help from Dr. Weiss, a psychiatrist steeped in the traditions of modern psychotherapy, a man trained to heal what the mind reveals, sharpened by science and logic, believing that many things can be explained by behavior, by early childhood, by trauma that is remembered or forgotten. Catherine presented symptoms that eluded simple cause or remedy. Nothing she had tried worked enough. She lay awake at night, heart heavy, haunted by images she could not name, by terror of darkness, by dread of death, by fear that seemed too vast to carry. After many months of traditional therapy, with little light where she hoped there might be relief, Dr. Weiss tentatively turned to hypnosis, to regression, hoping that beneath the layers of what she knew there might be something older, deeper, something that held the source of her suffering. Under hypnosis, Catherine's consciousness drifted, and what she first offered were memories of childhood, shadows of things she should remember, fragments of pain not entirely hers, fear not wholly explained by this life. Then she drifted further back beyond the realm of this present existence, into lives she had never consciously lived, into epochs she could not have read about, into landscapes she could not have studied. She was a Rhonda in one life, serving others, experiencing tragedy, being mother to children, yet powerless against forces she could not steer. She was a young man in another life, facing violence, betrayal, suffering deeply. She crossed deserts, sailed seas, survived ancient plagues, watched loved ones die, witnessed cruelty and also moments of great compassion. She felt firsthand the consequences of wrongs done long ago, saw how betrayal echoes, how love withheld whispers across ages. And slowly the fears in her present life began to make sense. The dread of water rooted in a life that ended by drowning, the fear of abandonment played out from lives when one was left to die alone, the nightmares of being hunted and punished reflected events from faces she no longer carried, realms she did not know consciously yet deeply remembered. While Catherine recounted these past lives, something else happened. Between past life and present, in a space beyond time, which she sometimes dimly sensed, she began to channel voices other than her own. They were calm voices, ancient, compassionate, speaking truths not filtered by her pain. These voices revealed themselves to be the masters, beings who dwell in a realm between lifetimes, in a state of rest, wisdom, perspective. They spoke to Dr. Weiss through Catherine, imparting messages about the nature of souls, about what we carry from one life to the next, about how love is the foundational force, how forgiveness releases weights that bind us, how each life is an opportunity, how fear is often the echo of something unhealed in another era, how death is not an end but transition, how lessons sometimes span many lives until they are understood. Dr. Weiss, initially cautious, uneasy, unsure what to believe, listened. He watched Catherine heal. He witnessed nights when she slept without fear, dawns when she awoke lighter, relationships that once trembled now steady, a voice formerly whispered now firm. He saw how her inner world shifted, how images that once haunted became understood stories, and how understanding brought release. He realized that psychotherapy in the present was reaching only part of what a soul carries, that what we long for sometimes lies behind memories we do not remember, but which the soul does not forget. He also noticed that Catherine's stories were exquisitely detailed. She spoke of things she could not have studied. She named places, customs, dresses, languages. She felt grief of mothers long dead, love of children born centuries ago. She saw landscapes, wars, journeys, sea voyages, fire, floods. And she saw again, and again, that at the center of all suffering lies the refusal to forgive, or the inability to accept what is, the inability to recognize that pain may come as teacher. The masters spoke of planes of existence beyond what we see, of obligations carried across lifetimes, of debts not always moral, sometimes emotional, sometimes energetic, of paths chosen, of lives born at times and places selected by the soul itself, of the possibility that endings are beginnings, that endings are transitions. Catherine, in regression, sometimes saw that after death there was waiting, reflection, love, reunion. She saw light, energy, beings whose presence was gentle, knowing. She saw that the soul rests, reviews, and then returns when ready, to learn, to heal, to love more deeply. Through this work, through pain met, through lessons accepted, Catherine's life in the here and now changed. The sleepless nights gave way to peace. The ceaseless terror ebbed away. The loud heartbeat in the dark softened. She began to trust, to hope. She began to see life not as threat but as possibility. And Dr. Weiss, the scientist, the psychiatrist, found his own skepticism yielding, his own heart opening, his mind expanding. He began to accept that what is real is not only what can be measured under microscopes, tested in labs, observed with senses. He began to see that what matters most may lie in the invisible, in the unspoken, in the remembered, or the yet to be discovered by the conscious mind. There came moments when Catherine, under trance, spoke about Dr. Weiss's own past, things he had kept private, losses, griefs, years of pain. Things she could not possibly have known. Her voice changed when she spoke as the masters. She named his father, his son, their ailments, their deaths. Weiss felt stunned, moved beyond reason. The boundaries between doctor and patient, follower and teacher, belief and knowledge blurred. Something sacred was unfolding. Healing advanced not only by uncovering what had hurt, but by forgiving. Forgiving those who had hurt, forgiving oneself for what one could not control, letting go of guilt, releasing shame. The masters spoke of purpose, not punishment. Of life not as line or linear march, but as tapestry, woven in and out, across lifetimes, across loves, across sufferings. Of courage not as absence of fear but as the willingness to face fear. Of love not as sentiment but as energy, as force, as the essential fabric of all being. Of death not as oblivion but as door. As Catherine's symptoms receded, as phobias loosened their grip, anxiety faded, the master's wisdom seeped in. There were no magic spells, no force. There was remembering. There was acceptance. There was transformation. Watching this, Dr. Weiss's life changed too. His relationships, his work, his sense of what it means to heal. He found compassion replacing detached analysis, humility replacing certainty, possibility replacing limitation. Where once questions were feared, now they invited curiosity. Where once only what could be proven seemed real, now mystery itself was honored. The final moments of Catherine's journey came as she realized what it meant to be free. Not perfect. Not unscarred. But intact. Whole. At peace. She saw how many lives she had lived were not mistakes, but even in suffering there was purpose. Not to glorify pain, but to understand it, to learn from it, to be transformed by it. She no longer trembled at dark, or dreaded dreams, or felt panic at small triggers. She bore scars, but they no longer ruled her. She carried love in closer measure than fear. Dr. Weiss, after the sessions ended, continued to feel the echo of what had transpired. He listened in dreams to voices reminding him of the masters. He felt presence in silence, in nature, in stillness. He continued to practice differently. He treated his patients with more softness, more wonder. He trusted intuition more. He allowed questions to rest unanswered for a time. He believed that in each soul lies wisdom, in each suffering the seed of growth. He believed that death is a journey, not an ending. To you, listening now, the passage of Catherine's healing offers more than story. It offers possibility. It whispers that you may hold fears whose roots are ancient. It suggests that healing could come through remembering what you have not yet forgotten in your soul. It invites you to forgive what you have carried too long. It invites you to live intentionally, to love deeply, to trust the unseen. It calls you to awaken to the idea that you are more than your habits, more than your worries, more than this one lifetime. It invites you to walk lighter, to carry hope, to trust that love outlasts loss, that light endures where darkness once reigned. You may not believe every detail. You may question, explore, doubt. That is good. Let your mind be wise and your heart be open. Let mystery be companion rather than enemy. Let compassion shape your view of yourself and others. Let your life be testimony that even what is hidden has power to heal. Let your fears be transformed into gateways of growth. Let your love be deeper than your regret. May you listen now with kindness to your soul. May you allow its songs to rise, its light to be seen. May healing come in whatever way you need. With courage, with love, with patience, with grace. Thank you for joining me here on Let's Get Motivated. May the whispers of the masters find their way into your heart. May you remember who you truly are, and walk that truth into every day that remains.